Hello everybody, welcome. In this lecture, we're going to look at the business analytics core concept model. So the BACCM has several components or concepts, and the first one is change. So the definition of change, and this is going to be so critical for us in this course because we're going to feed off of this idea of change. Is the act of transformation in response to a need. So the word need there is critical. Okay? We don't just change for the sake of changing. We are responding to a need in our business. So change works to improve that performance of the business or enterprise. The improvements are meaningful, in other words, deliberate, intentional, and they're controlled through specific activities that the business analyst performs. Later on, we'll call these things tasks. So the need, a problem, or an opportunity. So a problem, such as we're losing sales, or an opportunity, we've identified a new market that might be interested in our product. So how do we mobilize our organization to enter that new market? Ideally, the business analyst brings in the data, understands the systems that are needed to enter that new market, and works with operational folks, marketing folks, sales folks, purchasing, supply chain, you name it, to operationalize the assets in order to seize that opportunity. So the needs can cause changes by motivating those stakeholders to act. So when you identify a need, in other words, a problem or an opportunity, we should have an intentional action or task, and that should motivate our stakeholders. And you'll see later that there are several different types of stakeholders involved here. Changes can also cause needs by eroding or enhancing the value from existing solutions. So this is why we say a question always leads to another question. In other words, sometimes we might find a new opportunity that we solve or we complete or address, but that only leads us to realize something else needs to be fixed. Or now that we've established, maybe a freight system, a truck system, maybe that was the solution. We have to improve our supply chain assets. We have to build a bigger distribution warehouse with more truck bays. Okay, that's what we've identified as the solution. Well, now that we have this extra capacity, maybe we can do X, Y, Z as well, or in addition to. So again, questions lead to questions. Solutions always lead to more opportunities, perhaps, in this regard. So the solution itself, a specific way of satisfying, so there's your verb, one or more needs in a specific context. So these aren't accidental, right? These are meaningful and intentional solutions to a problem or an opportunity, in other words, a need. Okay? So we're being very gritty here, right? We're not 40,000 foot view definitions on this stuff here. It's a intentional thing. We're satisfying something specifically in a context. So it satisfies that need by resolving the problem that those stakeholders witnessed so that problem again, or the opportunity the stakeholder can take advantage of. So the stakeholder, it's a group or an individual with a relationship to the change, need, or the solution. So those previous ones that we've looked at. They're often defined in terms of interest in the subject, impact on, or something that influences. Okay? So sometimes they can be impacted by the change. Stakeholders are grouped based on their relationships to, again, those needs, changes, and those solutions. One thing that we have found in this field is that stakeholders are everywhere. It's not just your C-suite, your chief executive officers. It's your marketing coordinators that use data every day to make a decision, however small. And there's often a disconnect between senior leadership, middle leadership, or management, and those folks that are on the ground. We call them boots on the ground. The people in the cubicles, the people working from home, the people that are interacting with customers every day, who don't have fancy degrees, who don't have years worth of management or executive training to understand strategic initiatives, and vice versa. Those strategic players out there don't, it's been years since they've worked with a customer on a daily basis. So what we're trying to teach you here is never underestimate the number of stakeholders that exist because of that word impact. Now, people may not have an interest in the project you're working on, through the BACCM. They might not, have a problem or recognize an opportunity that you're solving. They could very well be impacted by it. So here's your list: the business analyst, customer. Now, the customer could actually be somebody internal. We often forget about that. But the business analyst optimizes people around him or her, and you're going to hear us repeat that over and over again. They optimize the people around them. And sometimes that is the external customer that you're literally selling something to. Sometimes it's an internal person that you serve, you provide solutions to so that they can work more effectively and efficiently. It could be a domain or subject matter expert. I've experienced working with people that have no business working in supply chain at the company, but they do have some knowledge about how customer transactions occur, which is not related to supply chain directly, but those folks might have some nuggets of wisdom that could help you better understand the problem you're facing in supply chain. An end user. So again, maybe your task today that you're solving is to write some efficient code or build a dashboard so that a group of people, end users, can understand what's going on in the company. Okay? So a couple more regulators. Maybe it's the government, a sponsor, somebody supporting the initiative, suppliers. Maybe there's a manufacturer or supplier in the supply chain that you're working with to help them better understand their work. Or maybe you're doing something like I was giving you the example of the truck bay, the new bay for your factory or distribution center. Maybe now, when it comes to freight transportation, now that you have more bays open, you might be able to schedule more appointments for deliveries. Now that could impact your supplier. And of course, tester, if you're testing out reports or computer code or software, etc. So value, there's a couple of different ways you look at value. But first, it's the worth, the importance, or usefulness to that stakeholder. Again, many different stakeholders. So value can be seen as potential or realized returns. In other words, potential meaning something in the future if we do an action. Or realized returns, which is something that we can mark down, our accountants can track, our finance managers can track. Now, it's also important to realize that it's possible to have a decrease in value. Well, we always think of value as, oh, look at that value, because we think of the word value added. No, you could actually end up running a project that decreases value in certain areas. Right? I think about, bringing in a new product that competes with your own product that you've sold previously. Maybe there's a new innovative product that will eventually replace the original product that your company sold. Okay? Value can be tangible or intangible. So it's directly measurable if it's tangible. So accountants love that stuff. Intangible can be measured indirectly. So your economists love that stuff. It's not something that you can mark down on a piece of paper and pay your bills with. Whereas tangible, yes. So context. It's the circumstances that influence, are influenced by, provide an understanding of that change that you're trying to implement in your company. Changes should always occur within a context. Context is everything that's relevant to the change within the specific environment that change is occurring. So keep that in mind, that the context is specific to where that change is occurring. Here's a laundry list. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but there's a lot here. Attitudes, technology, government, demographics, anything meeting the definition, anything that's going to get touched by this change. Okay? A lot of people misunderstand or don't evaluate behaviors of your employees. If you implement a change that will make your company more effective or more efficient, or a specific type of job more effective or efficient, in our world, it could be, hey, let's bring in a new piece of BI software that people can use. Well, if we don't train them on that, we don't give out enough login IDs, we don't have a data warehouse or data lake or data mart that supports that software, we don't have proper IT teams staffed to make sure that data is high quality and available, well then you're going to have some problems. So never underestimate the behaviors, the company culture, the processes, any of that stuff. I mean, we even have weather in here. Okay. So questions to ask. What are the kinds of changes we are doing? So this is the business analyst. You, as a business analyst in this class, for purposes of argument, you are a business analyst. Okay. As a student in this class, you're a business analyst. So you need to be doing these things. What are the kinds of changes we are doing? What are the needs we are trying to satisfy? What are the solutions we are creating or changing? Who are the stakeholders involved? Should always know that. What do stakeholders consider to be of value? What are the contexts we in the solution are in? What is the purpose? What is the context? What is the relevancy? Now, all of these concepts do intersect, okay, in one way, shape, or form. You can't just focus on changes without looking at solutions and understanding the context, the needs, stakeholders, the people that are impacted, and the value that you're bringing. It's impossible. It's impossible. Okay. So that was an introduction to the BACCM.